Hey everyone, welcome to Toons. I'm Luke, and in today's video we're going to be breaking down the new trailer for A Happy Halloween Scooby-Doo. Okay, so to start things off, it looks like this film takes place on a Halloween night, as to be expected by the title. And the gang, or at the very least Fred, seems to be participating in some sort of Halloween parade. You can see Fred dressed as a skeleton alongside Elvira, also on the same parade float. Of course, Elvira was last seen in the Scooby-Doo franchise in the last Scooby-Doo movie. Well, the last Scooby-Doo direct-to-video movie, in Scooby-Doo Return to Zombie Island. Of course, she was involved in the plot of that film's mystery, and it's possibly likely that this film follows on from that, and using their connection with Elvira is what gets them a role in the Halloween parade. And for anyone who doesn't know, Elvira was a horror movie hostess of B-list horror movies. She was really big in the 80s, she had her own show, Movie Macabre, and it's been brought back a few times over the years. And she's done numerous projects, she's had 2 live action films, and is generally just involved in all things spooky, so it's great to see her here in the Scooby series. And it appears that she'll be having a much larger role in this film than she did in the last. It really looks like she's about to get involved in the adventure with the gang. Now, we do see the Mystery Machine is back. So for anyone who doesn't know, in Scooby-Doo Curse of the 13th Ghost, the gang were forced to give up mystery solving, and so Fred sold off his Mystery Machine. And he spent most of that film and the follow-up Scooby-Doo Return to Zombie Island pining over the loss of his Mystery Machine. Well, it appears it's back in full force here, so I do wonder whether that is going to be explained at any point, or whether when the film begins they just have the Mystery Machine and we're just expected to roll with it. Either's fine. I mean, these direct-to-video Scooby-Doo films don't normally tend to have a lot of continuity with each other, but the last 2 did. They really followed on with that storyline. And I do think it'd be interesting to see them carry it on. And as well, with the Elvira connection, it does make me think that this film will be following on from the last. Or maybe she just happens to appear in both films and they're not connected at all. But why are the gang here in this Halloween parade, you might be wondering? Well, in the next shot we see the pumpkin Scarecrow thing is terrorising the town and terrorising the parade. Is it possible Elvira brought them in to help defeat this Scarecrow? And is it possible she was just there and they were there and they used their connection with her to like set up a trap during the parade? We don't know, we're just gonna have to wait to find out. And it does seem that this jack-o'-lantern headed Scarecrow mystery is wrapped up pretty quick, because in the trailer they show us unmasking him. He pulls off the jack-o'-lantern hat, and underneath it is a Scarecrow mask, and it's a very familiar Scarecrow mask. And they rip that mask off again to reveal it's Dr. Jonathan Crane. That's right, this is the Batman villain, the Scarecrow. So that's really interesting to see him pop up here. Of course, Scooby-Doo has a fairly long history with the Caped Crusader, having met him and Robin twice in the 70s in the new Scooby-Doo movies, as well as the alternate reality appearance on Batman the Brave and the Bold in Batman's Strangest Cases. Not to mention the recent Scooby-Doo Batman the Brave and the Bold team-up movie, an appearance on the recent Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, not to mention various appearances in the Scooby-Doo team-up comic book released by DC Comics. Most of the time Scooby and the gang meet Batman, they do normally tend to face the Joker or maybe the Penguin. So I do think it's nice to see them come up against a different villain. And I've always thought personally that the Scarecrow is the perfect Batman villain for the Scooby gang to come across. Not only do the gang frequently come across Scarecrow themed monsters, but the Scarecrow's entire motif is fear. And Scooby and Shaggy are scared of everything. I do think it'd be really interesting to see him play into that idea. So for anyone who doesn't know, the Scarecrow is Dr. Jonathan Crane. Like Velma said, he's an inmate of Arkham Asylum, but that is not always how it has gone. He was at one point a psychologist at Arkham Asylum. And although he's not usually considered to be one of Batman's most top tier villains, he's fairly recognisable. He had a large role in Batman the Animated Series. He was one of the villains in Batman Begins, as well as having a fairly notable role in the Batman Arkham video games. Of course, I do think that presents the question, is Batman going to be in this film? I'm not entirely sure. I would say I doubt it. I feel like if he was in the film, they'd be putting that front and centre of all the marketing and they'd be like, buy this film, Batman's in it. Although it is possible he might have a cameo, in which case they don't want to oversell his presence in the film. That makes me wonder, is it going to be a new version of Batman we've not quite seen before? This version of the gang, or at least what appears to be this version of the gang, they have the same character designs. Previously met up with Batman in the Batman the Brave and the Bold crossover. However, this is not the Batman the Brave and the Bold version of the Scarecrow if we compare it to the TV series. So if Batman were to be in this film at all, I doubt it would be the Diedrich Bader Batman the Brave and the Bold version. It's possible they just bring back Kevin Conroy to play a more classic version of Batman, similar to what we got in Guess Who. But I don't know, time will tell. And as the voiceover in the trailer says, the Scarecrow has a plan. And from what we hear the Scarecrow saying and the visuals, it appears that he seems to be bringing the pumpkins to life. And the gang are going to be facing a giant pumpkin monster. Now, of course, it looks very much like the gang will be dealing with almost real monsters in this film. The images of the pumpkins coming to life in this trailer makes me recall when that very thing happened in Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, and of course the magic was real in that film. However, will the pumpkin monsters be real? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no, they're not going to be. It seems to be a recent trend that Warner Bros. Doesn't want the gang facing supernatural threats. As the two previous films, Curse of the 13th Ghost and Return to Zombie Island, bent over backwards to try and explain away any paranormal activity in previous iterations of the Scooby franchise. And apparently this was a mandate from the studio in that they didn't want supernatural elements in the films. And so I do find it unlikely that this film would then go ahead and feature supernatural elements. However, of course, the Scarecrow does seem to be the mastermind behind this whole film, and even though the gang seemingly defeat him towards the start of the film, or the start of the trailer at the very least, he appears to be the mastermind over this whole film. And of course, Scarecrow is most known for his fear gas, and so I do think the character will utilise his fear toxin to scare the citizens of this town, including the gang. And I think that's going to allow for some really trippy sequences where the monsters can look as real as imaginable, and you don't have to come up with some complicated solution that the pumpkins are robots or holograms or anything like that. It can all be explained away as like this fear toxin, and they're just hallucinating these monsters the entire time, which I think is really interesting. You could really imagine some trippy sequences where the Scooby and Shaggy are just scared of everything and they see the ghosts and monsters of their past. I'm not saying that's going to happen in this film. If I was having Scooby meet the Scarecrow, that's definitely what I'd want to put in there. And then we see the gang on video conferencing with Bill Nye. That's right, Bill Nye the Science Guy. Interestingly, Bill Nye recently appeared in an episode of Scooby-Doo and Guess Who. Although I'm not entirely sure whether that episode is in continuity with this version of the gang. They are different character designs, so that normally means they don't reference one another, but you never know. So definitely look out for any references to that recent episode, because it does seem strange that he's in two Scooby projects around the same time. And he seems to be giving the gang a new high-tech mystery machine. It's all white, it's very sleek, it looks really cool. I'm not sure why he gives them this. I'm not sure what the need is for this new mystery machine, because they appear to already have it at the start of this film. Unless, of course, something happens to this mystery machine. I quite like the look of it. I don't know whether it's just going to be staying around for this film or maybe it'll be in future films. I think if it is staying around, it will definitely need a paint job. You've got to have that classic mystery machine colour scheme. But I don't mind it for this film being white, and I think it looks really cool, and I think there's going to be some fun features that I think are going to be utilised later in the film, because what we can see next is that the film looks like it's going to be having a wacky races inspired race sequence. We're seeing lots of different cars and trucks all decked out and pimped out with different motifs, and it just looks like the perfect setup for some wacky races inspired hijinks. We have seen that before in Scooby-Doo. We saw it in Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf, and there were various episodes of What's New Scooby-Doo that featured the gang in races, and that normally involved tricked out versions of the Mystery Machine. So it's not an entirely new concept, but I think with the setup of the film and the giant pumpkins coming to life and chasing them, I think it's definitely a fun spin on the trope, and it's definitely something I'm looking forward to seeing. We don't see much of the race in this trailer, but it is only a 2-minute trailer, and I would expect that this is a major portion of the film, like an entire sequence at the very least. There seems to be a lot of cars going on and a lot of different characters that we just see flash by. I imagine the film's going to introduce us to each and every one of them, and there's going to be a lot of gags involved with all the different styles of cars. So I imagine that this is going to be quite a meaty sequence of the film. I'm not saying it's going to take up the entire film, but I expect there to be a fairly sizable wacky races section in this film. I personally am really looking forward to that. I love wacky races and I love Scooby-Doo, so let's see that combine. But I wouldn't expect this film to be super heavy on the mystery elements, because I think from the get-go we're meant to be aware that the Scarecrow is behind everything that's going to be going on. Which, once you've got that mystery element out of the way, it allows them to do some more fun stuff like this. So I'm all for it. It does look like we're going to be having some sort of big showdown or epic battle with the gang and the other characters from the film, and they're all covered in pumpkin guts, and you've got Elvira and these other two characters. Who are those characters? Well, we do see them a little earlier. They appear to be in the race, and there does seem to be a bit of a fan service. Fred, he's got his shirt off. And they do claim this film to be Scooby's first Halloween movie. Of course, that's not quite true. Scooby-Doo and the Goblin King was set on Halloween, as well as Scooby-Doo and Kiss Rock and Roll Mystery, that was set on Halloween. We also had the Scooby-Doo and the Spooky Scarecrow special episode released direct-to-video. That was set on Halloween. It wasn't quite a film, it was 20 minutes, but it was like a bonus episode in a compilation thing. Both that and Kiss Rock and Roll Mystery were set in what I presume is the same continuity. They all have the exact same character designs. So it's not the first time we've seen this version of the gang on Halloween either. But you know, that really sells. And I do think it's probably the first film that's really going to play into the Halloween elements. Like, it literally has Halloween in the title, as opposed to just being a film that's set at Halloween, like the Kiss Rock and Roll Mystery. Now, the press release did say the film was going to be released on October 6th, so I'm presuming that is the digital release. It normally comes out on DVD a week later, and that'll all be in the US. Other territories, such as the UK, where we're at, we normally get them roughly a week later, although I'm sure they will want this film out ready in time for Halloween, so it may be closer to a day and date release. I'm not entirely sure. I couldn't find that information readily available. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled for Happy Halloween Scooby-Doo coming to stores near you soon. Alright guys, that's the end of the trailer. There's not really much more to say, but I'm really excited for this film. I can't wait for it to come out. So that's pretty much it for the video, guys. I've broke down the trailer, we've scrutinised every minor detail, I think. And yeah, there's not really much more to say then. I'm really looking forward to this film. Can't wait to watch it. And when it does come out, check back here for a review, because I'm going to be covering all things to do with this film and do in general. So, alright guys, thanks for watching this week's episode of Tube of Tunes. If you enjoyed the episode, give it a like. If you're not subscribed, smash that subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you can be notified the next time I bring you a video. That's how you'll know when the review's out, even though it's going to be a few months away, but that's how you'll know. Notification bell, guys. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Cheers. Thanks for watching Tube of Tunes. If you want more from the channel, hit subscribe. If you want to keep up to date with what's going on, follow us on our socials. Hope you liked it. Cheers.